Earlier this week, we went to Knucklehead Road. Do we have Knucklehead Road? Let's play. We got to play our Knucklehead Road song. Knucklehead Road is the op-ed page of the New York Times, and we like to go there to get like the heart, the beating heart of the left, in the hopes of grabbing hold of it and ripping it out of it, like in the second Indiana Jones movie. So let us travel back to Knucklehead Road for a minute.
Oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, ho. Let's go waltzing down to Knucklehead Road.
So earlier in the week, we took the chief knucklehead, the knuckleheadiest of the knucklehead on Knucklehead Row, Paul Krugman. And I read this column he wrote about how there's only one side in America, essentially. The right is now so hateful that they're not even to be spoken of. He says the character flaws of the party end up being echoed by the character flaws of its most prominent members. Are they bad people who choose their political affiliation because it fits their proclivities, or potentially good people corrupted by the GOP company they keep? Probably, he says, some of both. In any case, let's be clear. America in 2018 is not a place where we can disagree without being disagreeable, where there are good people and good ideas on both sides. It's not that place. Or whatever other bipartisan homily you want to recite, this is a nation ruled by the worst. Okay, that's you, by the way. That's you, Paul Krugman is talking about. Thomas Friedman, also on Knucklehead Row, also one of the top knuckleheads among the knuckleheadiest knuckleheads on Knucklehead Row. Thomas Friedman had this to say about our president. And he was talking about the fact that he didn't react to Vladimir Putin. He didn't attack Vladimir Putin after it came out that 13 Russians had been indicted, not convicted, indicted. But Trump is not that bothered by this. And here is Friedman overreacting to that.
People are worried about our country. This is America. Our country is at stake. Our president is a disturbed person, and he's behaving in ways that are simply inexplicable, that tell you that he is either compromised because the Russians have been funding his company in ways that he would find embarrassing if publicly disclosed. That's why he hasn't shown us his tax returns. Or he's compromised because of maybe behavior he engaged in while in Moscow. Or he is simply a towering fool who is ignoring the advice of his intelligence chiefs being made in public. And when his national security advisor is over in Germany at a conference, rather than summoning him home to lead a response to Russia, he rebukes him for not properly, supporting the fact that these things didn't tip the election. I'm not saying they did tip the election. I have no idea what the impact is, one way or another. What is unacceptable is that this behavior continues, and he is not responding.
So either Trump is somehow in debt to the Russians. He did something in Moscow with the Russian hookers, or he's, got some bad loans to his company from Moscow. We don't know what it is, but Trump is a Russian spy. And just the fact that he did not overreact to this indictment, which again is just an indictment of people who will never be tried, will never have this case proved. The fact that he didn't overreact means he's an unstable, terrible guy, and our democracy is in danger. And that's just Friedman saying what he wrote already in his column on Knucklehead Row. The interesting thing is, even if you try, David Brooks kind of went to the New York Times under the disguise of being a conservative, but he's not really a conservative. He believes that being a conservative is wearing like a blue tie. That's what he thinks being a conservative is. And he really is a mild-mannered he's kind of a liberal. He worshipped Barack Obama. He covered for Obama when Obama lied. But he writes this column called Respect First, Then Gun Control. Okay, so he wants the gun control, but he says, if you want, this is still on Knucklehead Row, so if you want to stop school shootings, it's not enough just to vent in March. It's necessary to let people from Red America lead the way and to show respect to gun owners at all points. There has to be trust and respect first, then we can strike a compromise on guns as guns and not as some sacred cross in the culture war. He wants to reach out. The left went nuts on Twitter. They were cursing him out. Somebody, Damon Linker at The Week, wrote a column called America's Addiction to the Politics of Anger. And he said more than a few people online seemed to think that this David Brooks column was a provocation to outrage. He says what he thought is a thoughtful liberal professor responded, what if Brooks had written this column about segregationists rather than opponents of gun control? So what if then he would have been wrong. Then he would have been wrong, but now he's right. He could have done so while barely changing anything else in it except the subject. I mean, it's like insane. This is a thoughtful liberal. Anyway, the linker goes on to say the problem is that the list of things that people on both sides of our ever wider and ever deeper partisan divide consider to be just plain wrong grows longer with each passing day. The right thinks that raising taxes or expanding access to affordable health care infringes on the inalienable right to property, just as proposals to regulate or restrict gun sales transgress the inviolable right to bear arms, rendering these positions unconstitutional, immoral, and un-American. The left, for its part, thinks that favoring lower levels of legal immigration and deportation for those who entered the country illegally, and maybe just the act of voting for Donald Trump, constitutes incontrovertible evidence of racism, while opposing abortion on demand is a sign of sexism, upholding the sexual morality of historic Christianity is homophobic bigotry, and allowing the easy purchase of AR-15 rifles is barbarism. How did we get here? And that's always the next question, and that's always when they start to blame Fox News, which he does in this column. It's always like, yeah, we're terribly divided, and it's all Fox News's fault.